The GDP wars are out in the open. Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister delivers a point-by-point rebuttal to former Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam's claims of GDP. Says that he cherry-picked indicators to prove his hypothesis. Prime Minister Modi presides the all-party meeting in New Delhi to discuss the idea of one nation, one election. Left leaders oppose the plan. Several parties, including the Congress and TMC, skip the meet. Tensions reach a new high in Karnataka. Congress dissolves its Karnataka unit, retains its state president and vice president. It wants to reorganize the party at the ground, while opposition says that the party is losing its marbles. The UP government is facing the heat over an ordinance. The Yogi Adityanath government enacted an ordinance to ban the use of private universities for anti-national activities. The opposition says it's an attempt to create fear and pressure on students and institutions. And it's official, India's opener Shikhar Dhawan has been ruled out of the ICC World Cup due to a thumb fracture. Young keeper batsman Rishabh Pant will replace him. Good evening and welcome to India Watch. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. In this show, we bring you the biggest headlines from India, the latest updates and unbiased analysis. In the next 30 minutes, we're bringing you up to speed with what's happening in India. Here's a question for all Indians. Would you like to vote just once every 5 years? It's a radical idea that has been around for a while now. One nation, one poll is the pet project now of the Indian Prime Minister. And he's making another push for it. But the opposition is not interested. Today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held an all-party meeting. He invited heads of all parties which have an MP either in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. The attendance was thin though. 5 opposition parties, including the Congress, refused to attend. Opposition leaders like Mamata Banerjee, Akhilesh Yadav, Mayawati and MK Stalin did not turn up. Mamata Banerjee wrote a letter to the Parliamentary Affairs Minister of India, Prahlad Joshi. She said that a single meeting was not enough to respond to this idea. She's asked for a white paper on this from the government. A stubborn Mayawati continues to cry foul. She wanted a meeting on electronic voting machines instead. Some other opposition parties did send their representatives though, and this includes the Aam Aadmi Party from Delhi and the Telugu Desam Party, the TDP, from Andhra Pradesh. It's been the Prime Minister's long-standing argument that the idea of one nation, one election will save both time and money. But several opposition parties have refused to back the proposal. They question the feasibility. They say that this idea is against India's federal principles. The idea is not new. Simultaneous elections were actually the norm in India. But in 1968 and 69, the cycle was disrupted due to premature dissolution of some legislative assemblies. In 2017, a report by the Niti Aayog made some compelling arguments in favor of simultaneous polls. It claimed that beyond the Lok Sabha election every 5 years, India witnesses about 5 to 7 assembly elections every year. In an interview to Wion earlier this year, Prime Minister Modi had articulated his thoughts on simultaneous elections. Here's a slice of that conversation with Wion's editor-in-chief, Sudhir Chaudhary.
देखिए, ये कोई बात मैंने नहीं कही है, कईयों ने कही है, मेरे पहले भी कही है। भारत के राष्ट्रपति जी आदरणीय प्रणब मुखर्जी साहब भी बताते रहते थे, एक चुनाव पूरा हुआ नहीं, दूसरा आया नहीं, दूसरा पूरा हुआ, तीसरा आया नहीं। सरकार में भी राजनीतिक दल के लोग ही बैठे हैं, चुनाव भी राजनीतिक दल ही लड़ते हैं, तो स्वाभाविक है उनकी शक्ति डिवाइड होती है, जिससे देश का नुकसान होता ही होता है। अब जैसे मैं हूँ, मुझे कुछ तो ध्यान देना पड़ेगा, चुनाव आएगा तो। अगर चुनाव नहीं है तो मैं अपना कॉन्सेंट्रेशन करता। तो एक तो ये बात हो गई। दूसरा, जब चुनाव आते हैं तो जब फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर को एक बड़ी गहरी चोट पहुंचती है जी, क्योंकि आप चुनाव में पॉलिटिकल बात बोलनी ही पड़ती है, तू मैं होती ही होती है, फिर उसको ठीक ठाक कर रहे हो। अच्छा, एक राज्य में चुनाव है तो वहाँ बोलते हैं सर आज मीडिया का ताकत इतना है, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया इतना है कि चुनाव त्रिपुरा में होगा लेकिन भाषण गोवा में भी पहुँचेगा और केरल में भी पहुँचेगा, तो वहाँ तनातनी चलती रहेगी। ये पूरे फैब्रिक को बहुत नुकसान हो रहा है जी।
Let's dwell on this for a bit. Is there merit in the argument? The biggest factor is the cost. It's a no-brainer that India spends more when elections are spread out. The average cost of an assembly election is anywhere between 200 to 250 crore rupees. The total cost of conducting elections in 29 states and union territories is anywhere between 7 to 9,000 crores, 7 to 9,000 crore rupees. Add the cost of the general election to this, India spends well over 11,000 crore rupees just on elections. And this is a recurring cost. If simultaneous elections were to become a reality, it would cost around 4,500 crores, a saving of more than 6,500 crores for India every 5 years. We'll discuss that in detail in just a bit. The biggest hurdle right now is political consensus or the lack of it. The central government cannot do it alone even if they want to. They need ratification from both houses and also all the state assemblies. It affects everybody's life, so all of them will have to be taken on board, and that is the biggest challenge. Major constitutional amendments will be required in India. The government will have to get the amendments passed in both houses of parliament, not with a simple majority, but with a two-thirds majority. The terms of different state governments end at different times in India. To bring all of them on one platform for one nation, one election, some state governments will see an extended term, others will see their terms cut short. Will they agree to that? According to some estimates, several state assemblies will have to cut short their tenure by more than 2 years. It's going to be very hard to convince them. It could require another phase of elections. So elections will have to be conducted after every 30 months until everyone is on one footing. And if this process is followed, India could synchronize all elections by December 2021. A plan like this would of course require ratification from the state assemblies. As we said, a long way to go. So how feasible is the idea of holding simultaneous elections? Well, will this indeed help in cutting cost? Are there lessons to learn from other countries in the world on this issue? Let's take this one by one. Point number one is cost efficiency. There's a big debate on that. Over the past few years, the government has pitched for simultaneous polls to Lok Sabha and state assemblies, and here are some of the advantages of one poll. First of all, the government will spend less money. Estimates say that the 2019 Lok Sabha election alone cost nearly 50,000 crore rupees to the exchequer. Besides this, the Election Commission also incurs a heavy cost for conducting assembly elections in every state. If the Election Commission conducts polls simultaneously, the money spent on elections and logistics could significantly decrease. This could lead to significant savings of public funds. Point number two, the time available for non-electoral political work will increase. This is a crucial issue, one that Amit Shah has been pointing out for over a year now. The criticism against India's electoral system is that parties and politicians are always in election mode, something that the Prime Minister just spoke about. This leads to a situation where politics trumps policy making and other legislative activity. Third aspect that we are looking at is the impact of simultaneous polls on the money spent by parties. Studies suggest that one poll will reduce election funding by politicians as well. The fourth issue is crucial, and this is concerned with the deployment of security forces. Holding simultaneous polls will free up security agencies. Now, these security forces are constantly being deployed from state to state, from one election to another. Simultaneous polls will save them the bother. But there is criticism against the idea as well. One is centralization of Indian politics. This is a major fear. Holding national elections at the same time may lead to centralization of regional politics. Under the current system, people prioritize regional issues in a state poll and they look at national issues in a Lok Sabha election. And this works. So then why try to fix it? That is the common criticism. The second one is the debate on cost efficiency. Is it really cost efficient, one election? Soon after the government discussed the issue last year, the poll panel sought additional funds for simultaneous polls. They said that 2 sets of EVMs will be needed for each polling station, one for the Lok Sabha and one for the State Assembly, and the Election Commission had sought more than 4,500 crore rupees to procure the ballot units, control units and VVPATs alone. You could say this is a one-time cost, but it is expenditure nonetheless. 3, the idea of simultaneous polls cannot be implemented under the existing constitutional framework. According to the Constitution of India, the term of the Lok Sabha and the Assembly is fixed for 5 years. Any attempt to prolong or curtail the life of a Lok Sabha or an Assembly is a constitutional violation. There are other constitutional hurdles as well. Clearly, it's a complex matter with pros and cons. Let's then turn to the world for inspiration. How do they do it? There are many countries which have one nation, one election system. Sweden, South Africa, Indonesia, Belgium, these are some of them. The list also includes the Philippines, Brazil, Bolivia, Colombia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and many others. In Sweden, for instance, the national legislative body is known as the Riksdag. The elections to county councils, municipal assemblies are all held together once every 5 years. In Belgium, one can vote in 5 different types of elections in one go, but elections for the federal parliament are held coinciding with European elections. In South Africa, elections are held for National Assembly, provincial legislature and municipal councils in a 5-year cycle. The rules are different for both the polls, but the key point to note here is that all these elections are held simultaneously. Indonesia held the joint presidential and legislative polls together concurrently this year. So it's not like this cannot be done or hasn't been done. The constitution also is not set in stone. India has amended it in the past. It can be done again if there is political will and support, and that's a big if. And the latest on this front, the government has in fact decided to form a committee to look into the proposal and give suggestions on one nation, one poll. So this is still work in progress. Now a story that will resonate with many states in the country. The Indian Army has demanded the extension of the controversial Armed Forces Special Powers Act, or AFSPA, in the state of Assam. The demand comes from the security forces engaged in counter-insurgency operations in Assam. A 1-year extension of AFSPA is what they want. Let's first spell out what is AFSPA. As I said, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Under this act, the armed forces are empowered to enter any premises and arrest any person without a warrant. This is a special power. This act was imposed on Assam at the peak of insurgency back in 1990, so it's going to be almost 30 years now. For the last 29 years, in fact, it has been repeatedly extended. Now, there have been demands from various sections in Assam to withdraw the act. They say that insurgency is a thing of the past now, at its lowest ebb since 1990. Why continue with such a stringent law, they ask. But security agencies say that recent incidents highlight the need for a stringent act like AFSPA. Officials say that police needs the army to fight the insurgents. And the army, in turn, needs the AFSPA to deal with militants spread out over a porous interstate border. And there have been recent incidents to bolster this point. The army officials point to the murder of an MLA in Arunachal Pradesh this month. There was an explosion that took place in Assam's capital, Guwahati, last month. Police say that there is a large number of ULFA activists in Assam. In fact, the state police also backs AFSPA. They are in the middle of a very contentious exercise, the state in Assam, updating the National Register of Citizens, or the NRC, a controversial matter. The police wants the army, they want AFSPA at a time like this. The updated NRC list will be out only on the 31st of July, so still some time to go. The security forces believe that ULFA leader Paresh Barua is still in command. They say that tougher acts are needed to maintain law and order in the state. The word in Assam is that ULFA is on a hiring spree. To deal with the group and to prevent disillusioned youngsters from joining the militant group, AFSPA, we are told, is required. Now, Upper Assam, which shares a border with Arunachal Pradesh, is the hotbed of ULFA movement. The government has already lifted AFSPA in Meghalaya, Tripura and parts of Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur, but it still remains in force in Assam and Nagaland. And by the looks of it, it may not be lifted in a hurry. Germany's ambassador to India, Walter Lindner, presented his credentials to India's President Ramnath Kovind in Hindi last month, just before assuming office. Wion spoke to him about the many facets of his colorful personality, from his passion for music to his love of being driven around New Delhi in a shiny red ambassador car. Take a look.
Hello, Cherry. How are you doing? Thank you.
नमस्ते, मैं नया जर्मन राष्ट्रदूत हूँ। मैं बहुत खुश हूँ कि मैं इंडिया में हूँ। इंडिया से मेरा काफ़ी पुराना रिश्ता है। Well, the only thing which was similar was my hair length, which was a ponytail at that time as well. But the rest, you know, I stayed in, very, very cheap hotels, went around with second-class trains where people were jumping into the windows to get a seat. But this 6 months in India, they just burned themselves into my brain, because it's an explosion of impressions, of colors, of smells, of noises, which still exist today. And this is a kind of an enigma. I'm really happy to be here, because you never stop learning from India and seeing sensational things every day. As German ambassador, one would expect me to drive around with a Mercedes, with a BMW, or with a Porsche even, which we don't have. We have those wonderful cars in the embassy, but when I came here, I said, hey, this is a wonderful car. This is the first Indian car built in India, in Calcutta, and let's use it. We painted it red, and that's what we now drive around with daily. I love the car. Well, that's the power of great music. I might be a diplomat, I might be a lawyer, but the truth of the matter is I'm a musician. That's where my heart lies. Nothing can find me as happy, as devoted as great music.
The 5th International Yoga Day is 2 days away. Yoga, which is often called India's gift to the world, has become a global craze over the past few years. No wonder then that the world is rolling out yoga mats to celebrate the International Day of Yoga. We're leaving you with this.